Aloha here for the Living Library with Terry Lilley, who is working on a project here in Kauai. He's been working for many, many years to bring preservation to the reefs of Kauai and information and awareness about what is happening to the reefs. Terry is one of the most incredible people I've ever met.
Thank you.
He doesn't sleep, I'm pretty sure, because he certainly is doing an incredible amount of research and reporting on what is happening in Kauai with reefs, with the water, with the ocean, with the animals, very, very connected in. So, Terry, maybe you could just dive right in and tell us what you're up to these days.
Yeah, and I'll try to do it in a short version. My friends used to always say, do the Reader's Digest version.
Okay, for today.
Yeah, my name's Terry, and I'm a marine biologist, and I've actually been surfing, spearfishing, and diving since I was 4 years old. My dad was one of the first surfers in California, and he taught me how to live in the ocean, including play with sharks and fish and surf and all that since I was a little kid. Since that point in time, I got a degree in marine biology, and I've been all around the world as a pro surfer and studying reefs around planet Earth. And I also had the world's largest captive breeding reptile zoo. And I did all this after graduating from college at Cal Poly University in San Luis Obispo, California. I've lived in Kauai for 10 years and part-time for, oh gosh, about 18 years now. And I started a project where I've spent over 3,000 hours underwater scuba diving and free diving with my high-def Sony cameras and my water housings. And the purpose of the project was not to be studying coral diseases or disasters or anything of the sort. I just was making an underwater movie series for kids around planet Earth. And the series is just called The World's Guide to Hawaiian Reef Creatures. And then I went to Tahiti and did The World's Guide to Tahitian Reef Creatures, California, World's Guide to West Coast Reef Creatures. So this is just an underwater study going around the planet, documenting all the beautiful creatures out on the reef and in the kelp forests. And then we would give that away for free to the schools all throughout Hawaii and West Coast of the United States. In that process, I moved to Kauai, and so I went all around the island of Kauai and did 1,000 dives over the last 10 years. 3 years ago, I started seeing a very weird color on the corals that looked like someone poured battery acid onto the coral. Didn't make any sense. I didn't recognize what it was. So what I did is I reported it to the University of Hawaii, Dr. Greta Abbey, and also Dr. Terry Work at the USGS, because they're two friends of mine and I've communicated with them for quite a number of years. And I said, I'm finding some really weird stuff out here that I don't know what is. Well, it turns out they both came to Kauai, they did DNA testing, and it's a really bad bacterial infection on the corals. It's called a cyanobacteria. That was in 2011. At the time, we didn't have a clue what was causing this outbreak. It has turned out to be the worst coral disease ever documented on planet Earth.
Wow.
And in the last 3 years, it's killed millions and millions and millions of corals on the north shore of Kauai alone. And I have 60 dive sites where I dive and monitor the die-off of this disease, or die-off of the corals. Now, what's happened since then is with UH and USGS is we've done immune system studies on the corals. We've done histology, we've done chemical studies, we've done all of these studies, and we haven't found anything that leads us to any knowledge as to why these corals are dying other than all the corals have a lowered immune system. They're not dying throughout Hawaii like they are on the North Shore of Kauai.
Wow.
I went to the Big Island, Lanai, Oahu, Maui, all over the islands doing underwater dives to see how quickly those reefs were dying, and they were dying at less than 1% a year. Okay, not good, but less than 1% a year. The reefs on the North Shore of Kauai are dying at about 20 to 30% a year. Within 5 years, we won't have any coral reef left on the North Shore of Kauai at this rate.
And that's a bad thing.
Well, it's a bad thing because the other thing we did is we found out through DNA testing that the corals in Niihau and Kauai are unique to our two islands.
Oh, wow.
They are completely different subspecies and maybe species than what occurs in the Northwest Hawaiian Islands, the Big Island, Maui, Oahu, Molokai, any of the other islands. So
wow.
if we lose them here, they're going to be gone forever. Okay, now bring it 3 years forward. Because of posting all of my articles about this coral disease on Facebook, it was on the front cover of the LA Times, it was on CNN News, it's been viewed by millions and millions of people. I had some chemists that contacted me, and they'd been doing studies about military microwave towers and how these towers are killing all life around these towers in other parts of the world. They've been studying in Guam, Puerto Rico, Indian River, Florida. And they know what these towers do to living systems. Turns out in 2011, the military started using a new frequency of microwaves for the purpose of warfare testing. Well, we did a little study and found out that the most amount of microwaves being used on planet Earth are right here on Kauai.
Wow.
Beaming over the North Shore out here. We have 14 microwave towers here that are beaming 30 million watts of microwaves to 3 Navy ships outside, and those Navy ships are beaming about 100 million watts per ship to satellites to use for warfare to implode anything they want to around planet Earth, from a submarine to a satellite to a building in Beijing. And now the military's come out and they're pretty open about that they're practicing the first ever electronic war games on the North Shore of Kauai for the next 5 years. So what we started doing is we started studying exactly when these towers were turned on, and sure enough, the reefs out in front of these towers started dying, every one month after each tower was turned on.
Wow.
Now, since then, we've accessed through the U.S. Patent Office and the military's own records that they have documented that these microwaves from time to time can short out onto the reef and cause an electrical shock. So we think that it's probably the electrical shock that's actually lowering the resistance of the corals and allowing bacteria to eat them up.